Hare Krishna, everybody. We're going to sing this bhajan, Manarottam Das Thakur. Manarottam Das Thakur, he was born just a little bit after Lord Chaitanya, so he missed him just by that much. So this is a prayer for the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and our acharyas. And Prabhupada, in a commentary to this song, he says that the essence of this song is we pray for the association of devotees. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More Tamabina Kedayalu Jagat Samsare Pacita Pavana Etu Tavatara Osamapa Sita Prabhu Napaibeyara Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi Kripa Bhava Kanakura Ami Boro Dukhi Daya Karo Sitapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai Gora Prema Maya Tano Panzita Gadadhara Srinivasa Haridasa Dayarasagara Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Bhatta Juga Shijiva Prabhu Lokanatha. Daya karo Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Dasa. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More Tamabina Kedayalu Jagat Samsare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Tagore Premanande, Hari Ram. Hi, Hare Krishna, everybody. So today we're going to be covering the three gunas of material nature. I know we speak about them almost every class, but I was hoping to bring some practical techniques for application today, and hopefully it will be somewhat based on some seminar that Bhakti Maharaj gave called Emotions in the Heart. So I'm going to try to connect that, how it affects us, and what we can do to actually change that inner space and see how sort of following for different lower gunas in material nature, how our space can be affected, and we can physically feel it. We can feel it on a subtle level and a spiritual level. All right. So this chapter is called Three Modes of Material Nature and Beyond. We know that Brahmatirtha Prabhu spoke that many subjects that have been spoken during Bhagavad Gita talk are being brought up again. Because now Krishna has a little bit more time. They sit under a tree, they're relaxed. Krishna has all the time, Uddhava has all the time. In case of Arjuna, it's like a little pep talk before a big battle. Like when you go to a boxing ring, coach takes his little boxer in the corner, say, you cover your face, you watch him in the eye, So there's a little pep talk. So, and it says that Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita in about, some say 1 muhurta, some say 2 muhurtas. Muhurta is about 45 minutes. So one time, this person came to Prabhupada and he was very proud. He said, Prabhupada, I can recite the whole Bhagavad Gita in 2 muhurtas. Prabhupada said, well, that's very well, but can you live by it for 6 seconds? Can you live by it for 6 seconds? And then 5 seconds? You can recite all of it, but application has to be there. So I wanted to ask for some of the opinions of why do you think Krishna brings it up twice? This particular topic of three gunas, he brings it up twice. And in Uddhava Gita, he goes farther. Any thoughts? Yes, please.
Because it's really important?
Yes. Yeah, quite simple, quite important. When something's really important, we say twice. So we say please and we say twice. When I was preparing, I was thinking that, a couple of weeks ago I was traveling with my Guru Maharaj and something happened that happened twice. I was like, well, that's probably important. Your Guru Maharaj can really see your heart. You can see what's inside of it. So he can bring up certain things. And if he brings them up twice, it's probably something to look into. A particular thing he told me on 2 different occasions. I was helping to cook. He was standing with his sister, and she was saying that, I was helping him make breakfast, and Maharaj came downstairs and he said, well, be careful. He likes to speculate. He is very independent. And he said it before. I was like, well, he said it twice. There's got to be something to it. Because very often our own character is very hard to see. It's so close to us, it becomes our nature. We have, Maharaj says that we have blind spots. Like in driving a car, is blind spots. So we need somebody to tell us what's there. So later that day, we were driving in the car, and we were at the red light, and Maharaj was sitting in the passenger seat, and I said, Maharaj, you said I have these qualities, and I think they are way too natural for me. Would you be so kind to explain to me, tell me, because I have blind spot. So he told me, I'm not going to go into details, but he told me why I have certain natures, but it was really helpful. Really, why it's so important also is because we are all dealing with these 3 things every day. So Krishna gives us this little, like a manual, what to do in the material world. Like there was a first, like now we all used to using Androids or Windows, but back in the day they had DOS. It was a really complicated system. You had to type in and parameters and it was not really usable for most people. And then they invented Macintosh or Windows. And why is it became so popular? Because you just had a little icon, you press on it, you get the result. Really simple. But Krishna created this browser system first. It doesn't get any benefit for it. So there's these three icons. You press on it, and you get result pretty quick, very simple. So you press on Tamaguna, you get a certain result. Rajaguna, a certain result. So we also know that gunas means the rope. It's something that holds us tight. Does anyone have any thoughts of how exactly we hear it a lot, being tied by the ropes of gunas. how exactly do you think we're being tied down by them? How exactly are we, gunas tie us down? How exactly we get entangled by the gunas? What actually ties us down? Yes, bro.
Bound by the gunas mean that we're conditioned to act in a certain way and we're attached to it, and when something is about to like change that certain way we are about to act, like we get defensive, like we don't want to like change things about us. So that's how like they bind us. We're not looking for growth, but we just want to be where we are, something like that.
Yeah, we probably at a point. The guna. And for an example, if a person has a strong desire, for sleeping, for an example, and then that person will be strongly tied with the mode of ignorance. So the desires plays a very important part in that. Yeah, desire or some attachment habit. Basically, the word I was looking for is taste. We develop taste, be it lower gunas, passion, but it's a taste that binds us. And if we have taste, next thing comes enthusiasm. For example, materialists, they have really big attachment, say in mode of passion, they have really great attachment to economic development. They're really enthusiastic about it, they're pushing for it. Soviet Union, they had this idea of 5-year plan, and there was a saying, 5-year plan in 3 years. They had this enthusiasm, passion. And then we go farther, the enthusiasm spreads, we're gonna go to the moon. That's how much enthusiasm. They spend a lot of development, a lot of money, a lot of resources going to that. And people have faith. Like now they're going to Mars. They have faith. They have this passion for it. They have taste for it. And what they go for some rocks. They bring rocks. Here we go, went to the moon, and everybody's so joyful. On the other hand, devotees have deep faith, and they go to Vrindavan, and they bring their rocks from Vrindavan. It's so different, but it's a taste. It gives us enthusiasm. If you go to, I heard when you come back from India, the customs, they don't really even want to bother check the devotees. They're like, they just carry some beads, some stones, just don't even bother it. Just like, those guys are crazy. But they spend billions of dollars to go bring the same rocks from the moon. Hare Krishna. One time it was maybe 7 years ago, we were in Javed Maharaj and I went to the pharmacy in Manhattan next to the Bhakti Center. And we were standing in the line, and usually they play this loud music, some sort of rubbish. We were standing in line, and Maharaj started going like this, and started singing. It's like, gunas, 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 gunas. It's really funny because it's once you develop certain taste, and especially in Sattva Guna, you become very sensitive to these things. Have you ever noticed after started practicing spiritual life, you became more sensitive? You started feeling people a lot more. Sometimes you can read them by the back of their hat. How do you feel? It's one of the advantages that come simultaneously to the person. They become more subtle. They become more sensitive to others. Naraj Maharaj tells a story how back in '76 in Boston Temple, they had this devotee, and all temples have this kind of devotee. They come, they're very enthusiastic. They sweep the floors, wash the dishes, and then they disappear. They come again after a few months, they're very enthusiastic, and then they disappear. So they had these devotees come in and out, this one devotee. And at some point, he disappeared for longer than usual. And at that time, I started getting some calls to the phone, the landline at the temple. And whenever they would pick up the phone, somebody would blaspheme the devotees. It's horrible words. And the devotees just immediately put the phone down. They don't want to hear it. And it went on for a long time. kept calling. They just, oh, Hare Krishna, just put it away. I don't want to let this person commit offenses. And then, after some time, this person came back again, very enthusiastic. And devotees noticed that calls have stopped as well. So they started making a connection. They asked him some questions. He was honest. Said, yeah, it was me. I was calling. I was trying to blossom you. And they're like, well, why is it so? Why would you feel the need to do that? He said, very simple. I have come to association with devotional service. I've come to association with devotees. And it seems like my life now is ruined. I try to go away. I try to enjoy, but the all attempts are futile. Whatever I do, I can't enjoy. Have you ever felt like it? You've gotten some higher taste. It's so hard to go back, even if you try. It's impossible. So you were saying, I struggled so much, so I figured maybe if I offend you enough, maybe I'll lose that taste. And we all know if you push it hard enough after all these offenses, Krishna might let you go for some time. Because offending devotees is more harmful to us than offending Krishna. Krishna takes it very seriously. That person tried it like that. There's if you have attachment for material things, friends, family, money, don't go to the bank of Yamuna. And don't look at Krishna who is standing there with threefold bent form playing the flute. Because that's it. Once you've done it, no going back. We know what many Gurukuli kids, they get education and they all have this phase of rebellion. They have to go out and try it out outside. They'll come back. Eventually they'll come back. Krishna has a little notebook. A notebook is so important that he doesn't even have a secretary to keep the log in this book. And it says that if you utter holy name once, consciously or unconsciously, Krishna puts this person's name down. And he goes after this person, life after lifetime, until he actually gets him back. That's how merciful Krishna is, and that's how we should be aware of that mercy. So we're going to get to, let's read the verse and continue discussion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, let's quickly read translations to verses 1 through 18. Huh? Yeah, I think 18. Okay. I will start. The Supreme Personality of God, it said, O best among men, please listen as I describe to you how the living entity attains a particular nature by association with individual material modes.
Mind and sense control, tolerance, discrimination, sticking to one's prescribed duty, truthfulness, mercy, careful study of the past and future, satisfaction in any condition, generosity, renunciation of sense gratification.
Faith in the spiritual master, being embarrassed at improper action, charity, simplicity, humbleness, and satisfaction within oneself are qualities of the mode of goodness. Material desire, great endeavor, audacity, dissatisfaction, even in gain, false pride, praying for material advancement, considering oneself different and better than others, sense gratification, rash eagerness to fight, a fondness for hearing oneself praised, the tendency to ridicule others, advertising one's own prowess and justifying one's actions by one's strength, are qualities of the mode of passion.
Intolerant anger, stinginess, speaking without scriptural authority, violent hatred, living as a parasite, hypocrisy, chronic fatigue, quarrel, lamentation, delusion, unhappiness, depression, sleeping too much, false expectations, fear and laziness constitute the material qualities of the mode of ignorance. Now please hear about the combination of these three modes.
My dear Uddhava, the combination of all three modes is present in the mentality of I and mine. The ordinary transactions of this world, which are carried out through the agency of the mind, the objects of perception, the senses, and the vital airs of the physical body, are also based on the combination of the modes.
When a person devotes himself to religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, the faith, wealth, and sensual enjoyment obtained by his endeavors display the interaction of the three modes of nature.
When a man desires sense gratification, being attached to family life, and when he consequently becomes established in religious and occupational duties, the combination of the modes of nature is manifest.
Fitting qualities such as self-control is understood to be predominantly in the mode of goodness. Similarly, a passionate person is recognized by his lust, and one in ignorance is recognized by qualities such as anger.
Any person, whether man or woman, who worships me with loving devotion, offering his or her prescribed duties unto me without material attachment, is understood to be situated in goodness.
When a person worships me by his prescribed duties with the hope of gaining material benefit, his nature should be understood to be in passion, and one who worships me with the desire to commit violence against others is in ignorance.
The three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, influence the living entity but not me. Manifesting within his mind, they induce the living entity to become attached to material bodies and other created objects. In this way, the living entity is bound up.
Mode of passion, which causes attachment, separatism. When the mode of goodness, which is luminous, pure, and auspicious, predominates over passion and ignorance, a man becomes endowed with happiness, virtue, knowledge, and other good qualities.
When the mode of passion, which causes attachment, separatism, and activity, conquers ignorance and goodness, a man begins to work hard to acquire prestige and fortune. Thus, in the mode of passion, he experiences anxiety and struggle.
When the mode of ignorance conquers passion and goodness, it covers one's consciousness and makes one foolish and dull. Falling into lamentation and illusion, a person in the mode of ignorance sleeps excessively, indulges in false hopes, and displays violence toward others.
When consciousness becomes clear and the senses are detached from matter, one experiences fearlessness within the material body and detachment from the material mind. You should understand this situation to be the predominance of the mode of goodness, in which one has the opportunity to realize me.
You should discern the mode of passion by its symptoms: the distortion of the intelligence because of too much activity, the inability of perceiving senses to disentangle themselves from mundane objects, an unhealthy condition of the working physical organs, and the unsteady perplexity of the mind.
When one's higher awareness fails and finally disappears, and one is thus unable to concentrate his attention, his mind is ruined and manifests ignorance and depression. You should understand this situation to be the predominance of the mode of ignorance.
Okay. Let's do the verse 13 for Sanskrit. We'll do it just once because we are kind of short on time, so I'll just do it. Yadetarao yayet sattvam Hasvaram vashadam shivam Adasukhena yuyeta Dharma gyanan dibhih umam. Let's skip that in translation. When the mode of goodness, which is luminous, pure, and auspicious, predominates over passion and ignorance, a man becomes endowed with happiness, virtue, knowledge, and other good qualities. Purport: one can control one's mind and senses in a mode of goodness. So we hear that we have to get rid of the attachments to the modes of material nature. So the question is, do we have to get detached from 3 modes or the 2 modes? Huh? 3 modes. Why is that? What's wrong with Sattva Guna?
Is just as binding as Rajagun or Tamagun. Or I guess, I mean, you have to be in Sattva Gun to, then go to like Shuddha, like pure goodness and do devotional service and such things. But yeah, it definitely binds you also.
Yeah. Yes, my brother.
Because in Sattva Guna, a person is relishing the satisfaction. There are some people, for an example, a person who's in Sattva Guna, they do yoga in the morning, they eat fruits, drink milk, read newspaper, and they're just satisfied with their life. So that satisfaction bonds a person by progressing into Suddha Sattva Guna. So that is one of the obstacles.
What happens to the person who is very, very attached to it, to Sattva Guna? What happens to this? What happens to his heart, his character? Huh? Yeah, he becomes proud. You'll be surprised, but there is specific hell for people in Sattva Guna. And they all do yagyas there. But there is a hell for them. So then the question is, what's the purpose of Sattva Guna? What's the point? What's the purpose? Well, yes, but you still have to go to hell. So what's the purpose then? Yeah, trampoline, right? It's necessary to purify our consciousness, our body, to get to the Shuddha side of it. And just a technicality, does anybody know how does one get detached from Sattva Guna and gets to the Shuddha side of it? What's the a step or a cane one uses to get to that? Anybody has a thought? Can be a few things. No, that's pretty.
Devotee association?
Yes. Perfect. Particularly, one gets detached from Sattva Guna and attached to Shuddha Sattva by developing attachment to a sadhu. That's the process. So, one of the characteristics of problems with Sattva Guna that we are facing every day is, well, first it feels like poison. It's actually not so pleasant. Get up early in the morning, chant our rounds, and preferably put a phone away. It's very difficult, and the happiness and the nectar comes later. Unfortunately, we don't really get to practice. That poison stage is so hard that most of us don't get to feel the happiness at the end. It's a very difficult one. We know in a Rajaguna it comes right away. Very difficult. But that ability to forfeit immediate happiness for benefits in the future, that's Sattva Guna. It takes intelligence, it takes self-control. Have any of you heard about this called marshmallow test? I knew Christina would know what it is. Yes. And wonderful test. How many of you have heard about it? Raise your hand. Okay. So marshmallow test is they take kids, they put them in a room, and they put marshmallow in front of them. And they say, you can eat it now, or if you wait 20 minutes, you'll get 2. And the experiment is done in such a way that they also, depending on what kid does, they follow up on his life later. And they find that if one can control his urges for immediate satisfaction, for later benefit, they succeed in their life much, much higher rate. And I have a small video which I really want to show. It's so wonderful. It's a video of kids doing the test. And when you see it, please try to see yourself, because it's not just kids. Adults do the same thing every day. They see a new phone, they see a new car, they see some new object of enjoyment, be it male or female, and see what happens, and see how one reacts to it. How difficult it is. Some kids, they will lick it and put it down. Some people will close their eyes, and those who lick it, they always fail. Because once you make one step in a direction, that's it. So let's play the video. And there is one lady, we'll see, one little girl. as the lady puts the marshmallow in front of her. As she talks the rules, she doesn't even listen. She just goes for it. She just looks in distance and just eats it. And many of us are like that. We just see it, we don't even think. All right.
Okay, sit in that chair. Alright, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now. When I come back, I'll give you another one, so then you'll have to. And stay in here and stay in the chair till I come back, okay? Alright.
So that's a living entity put in the material world. There's all the objects of the senses. So please start seeing it.
I'm gonna go do something, and then I'll come back.
So there's two things that are fighting our mind: is that I would enjoy now, or intelligence says control yourself.
It's up to you. You can have it now or you can wait. Okay? I'll be back. Stay in the chair, okay? Okay.
That's my favorite one.
Alright, so I'm gonna sneeze and then I'll come back, okay? So you can either eat it right now or you can wait.
See? Just gone. That's it. Completely.
I do. You did? You did? You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So I tell you to give me another one? Okay, I can have both.
Very well. So have any of you have any of you recognized yourself on a daily basis? Yes? So we are constantly being bombarded by these objects of the senses. And we know we are what we eat. But you can rephrase it, we are what objects of the senses we choose. Because we have so many organs and there's all this incoming information. One way that you can try, it's a practical application. If you feel your mind gets very agitated, you feel on a daily basis it becomes very difficult, one technique Bhakti Maharaj suggests, and actually not just technique, but also explains the psychological way of how it works. If we do every day something that's completely our mind is against it, say be it wake up early or be it chanting, completely focused without any distractions. And you feel sometimes, I've seen many devotees, their mind is like a child who is a very spoiled child. He just eats candy and he can't take a broccoli for the life of him. So if we try to do something against our mind, do one thing a day, small thing, do it something that's, you just can't stand doing. Start doing it. You will see automatically mind, it's an experiment. Don't think about it, just do it. Experiment, you will see our mind becomes pacified right away. It's a technique. As a child, he can scream and yell, but if you just say, hey, sit down and eat your soup, he'll eat it, he'll calm down. But if you keep giving him candy, it's downhill from there. So Sattva Guna, one of the wonderful things about it is it gives us focus. And the second practical thing is for us, I will bring it up, is Magad Maharaj says that technically only in Sattva Guna meditation is possible, only that. And he talks about focus and the fact that the focus of being concentrated on one object versus being our consciousness being spread in so many directions on a daily basis, what difference does it make to our heart, to our consciousness? So he says that if you focus your consciousness, and this consciousness, chittam, in the heart, he says it's not in the brain, it's in the heart. He says that brain just has some hardware storage, some important information, some memories, but he says the consciousness or deep attachments and deep memories, they're located in the heart. Science actually now starts to find out that there is actual brain of the heart. There is a brain inside the heart. It's completely independent system from the brain, from all other organs. It's by itself. So we can control the way it works by also our practice. So here's what he describes. The chittam consciousness is like a flower. Now, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes there's 5 stages of consciousness. One is completely, imagine it's a lotus flower. It can be completely shut. Say you can think about trees. Some people don't even believe they have consciousness because they're just completely shut. There is no, quote unquote, symptoms of consciousness or life, one can say. And then gradually, when it starts to open up a little bit, that little, what you call it? What do I call it? The butt, right? But so when it starts to open up a little bit, some consciousness develops, and that's where you get to the animals. There's more complex emotions in them. They have more consciousness. They have, not there yet, but as they get to the humans, they open up a little more. And he says the 4th stage is, well, more or less people who practice spiritual life. That's where we are. It's almost fully open. It's the person who can actually understand the cause and effect. And the higher, why scientists struggle to go above that is because they can't accept the ultimate cause and effect. Spiritual people can realize God, and that's when your consciousness or chittam, that flower, completely opens. So here's something interesting. He says when you focus on one thing, so you do meditation, he says that chittam counterintuitively actually opens up. One, one can think, well, if I think about so many things, then my consciousness is spread. He says, no. When you focus on one thing, that's when your consciousness is really open up. And when your consciousness is sporadic, it's scattered in little different patterns everywhere. Like in a Rajaguna, you wake up in the morning, you open up your phone. The first thing is Facebook, Twitter, whatever, news, emails, job, boss, employees. Immediately your mind gets spread in so many directions. And the consciousness actually starts to shrink. And when the consciousness shrinks, that's when the technicality you can all feel by yourself is when your heart you physically feel tightness in the chest. Have you ever felt that? Stress, tightness? It means that your emotions, stress, it's shrunk. Imagine a bucket of water. And if you throw something, the waves go back and forth, and there is a lot of those. And you feel this tightness, you feel this stress. That's actually Rajaguna. When your consciousness is spread, it's not focused on one thing. A lot of waves. Counter to that, if you're focused, that bucket becomes an ocean. Big ocean, big heart. They say Mahatma, a great person. It literally means person with a big heart. And if in ocean you throw a little stone, there'll be waves, but it will disturb it just one way, quietly. So if you focus, you will see it calms it down. So if you have stress, you feel tightness, know that your mind, and you can analyze yourself, your mind is all over the place. But if you focus, it gets still. Have you ever seen these people who lived good, clean life? and in their older age, they're peaceful, they're happy, there's certain blissfulness and peace on their face. And more than that, devotees who have lived really deep spiritual life, they have so much space in their heart that they can take other people's problems, they can take other people's concerns, and they actually can fit and invite in the heart. We can think of Srila Prabhupada. You know, he had so much, his heart was such an ocean that he could, they say he could fill the whole world. And he took the people who the rest of the world completely gave up on. All those hippies, they just nobody can even deal with them. But Prabhupada had such an open consciousness of such a big heart that he could do it. And you can take Kalakanta Prabhu, I would say, how many of us go to him, you know, on a regular basis, and he is completely open to us. I sometimes feel bad, I know how much he takes in from us. I just feel bad sometimes saying everything you want to say, but at the same time, you can see that he has so much space in his heart. It's just so wonderful to see it. So, and there is a verse, Vyavasyatmika Buddhir, right? Says the same thing. Those who are on this path, they have the aim of one and they're resolute in purpose. And those who are undetermined, their mind is many branched. Literally, the definition of it. If you're undetermined, your mind is many branched. And the thing about the heart is also an interesting technicality. We have only so much energy during the day, our heart energy to give away. What happens is when we go to sleep, it says that the soul, there's different stages of sleep. There's REM sleep, there's deep sleep. During a deep sleep, the soul goes deep in the heart, and there it meets with God. It's Paramatma. And that's where it recharges the energy. In a deep sleep, the blood pressure drops, and it's absolutely necessary for the health of the body to get that recharge, and the whole vascular system needs to recharge, and so is on the subtle level. We get recharged with energy from Paramatma. And then throughout the day, we should be careful what we send this energy to, because we only have so much. That's why at the end of the day, we're so tired, because we just give our energy away. And nowadays, especially with screens and laptops and phones, completely goes out. So a few things about mode of passion. It's characterized by incessant flow of desires. Person can never be happy. I have a video for it, but we unfortunately don't have time. It's a 4-minute video. If we have time, we'll cover that. So I wanted to ask, what's so bad about Rajaguna? So we enjoy. What's so bad about it? Yes, Kristen.
It's ultimately not sustainable. Because we want to enjoy, but we're trying to enjoy on the material platform, and like resources are finite. We run out of time, we run out of money, we run out of energy, whatever, and so like at some point something's got to give.
What do you think about what happens in the heart? Continuously injures, nonstop.
I would say you probably get desensitized to whatever you're trying to enjoy. So it's just like you need a bigger high in order to feel the same.
Yeah. The desensitized part also refers to the person who enjoys a lot. It doesn't seem to be able to feel the pain of others. Have you noticed people who just continuously enjoying, they're unable to feel the pain of others? Have you noticed that? Have you felt it on yourself? You meet some completely materially oriented person, they're so indulged in themselves. It happens on the road sometimes. Often you drive and somebody cuts you off and they just show you a finger at the same time. It's like they can't even understand what other person may go through. And so it hardens the heart. And what happens in Tamagun? Well, first of all, Rajaguna, we all know it's nectar in the beginning and a hell in the end. Just like, say, the highest ways, maybe intoxications, people get really high, really quick. but then the fall is just as high, maybe even higher. And in a tamaguna, really it's suffering in beginning and end. And it's interesting that there is actually scriptures. Most of us think of when we say scriptures, there are scriptures that sattvic, right? Bhagavatam, Puranas. But interestingly, because there's so many different types of people with so many different types of natures, actually even scriptures, there are different scriptures in different modes. There are scriptures in Sattvaguna, Rajaguna, Tamaguna. Interesting. So what do you think the scriptures in Sattvaguna would teach? What's the main idea of scriptures in Sattvaguna? What's the main point they try to bring to the reader? Any thoughts? Yes, part of it, for sure, detachment. Yeah. Steadiness. Okay. I guess go into more of a nature of things. What kind of nature of things they're trying to convince us of? Yes. Yes. The ultimate goal of scriptures in Sattvaguna is trying to explain the person the one nature of everything, one source of everything. That's what scriptures in Sattvaguna really try to bring us. Because scriptures in Rajaguna, they will teach, interestingly, they will teach divide and rule. Me, mine, friend, enemy. That's Rajaguna. They will teach that. And what do you think we read it in today's verses. What do you think the scriptures in Tamagun will teach? Any thoughts? It refers to qualities of Tamagun. What do you think the scriptures like that would teach? Any thoughts? Okay, so selfish, right direction. Selfish, basically. You probably want to have a comment?
No, after this.
Okay.
For the Rajaguna, I was thinking.
Okay. The scriptures in Tamagun, they will justify violence against others. They will justify killing of animals. Right? There are scriptures that, yes, you could probably. Yes.
Using enjoyment and all kinds of degraded activities.
Yeah. Yeah, horrible animal sacrifices, and there are some scriptures, not say per se even Vedic, but there are scriptures that describe human sacrifice, just all they can eat the humans. They will justify violence in one form or the other. And the problem is Tamagun. I'm sure we all felt Tamagun in us. The interesting fact, I'm going a little bit late because Nanda is also a little bit late because we had pasta in the kitchen. Just like it's never black and white. This person is perfectly in Sattvaguna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna. It's always some sort of mixture, just like there is three colors, right? Red, blue, and green. Am I correct? It's main three specters of colors, right? And when you mix certain colors, they have different shades and colors. So it's always a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And it's described that actually there's a karmic bank account with 3 sub-accounts. And we all invest on a daily basis in those sub-accounts. The beautiful thing about this sub-account, or it can be a bad thing in some cases, is that this bank account follows us life after life after life. If you go to a regular bank and tell them, hey, there is this account for this name, it's from my previous life, do you mind kindly giving it to me? Most probably they will tell you to go to a different institution. But karmically, it follows us. There is no way to get away from it. So how do we get out of the Rajaguna? Anybody has ideas? If you're stuck in that, if you're passionate, it's hard for you to sit down. It's hard to just focus on chanting. Say, let's take this example. What would you do? Yes, Shampoo.
Ask yourself what you...
Yes, but then you can start just talking to yourself. One of the techniques that's recommended in many ashrams and brahmacharya ashrams in post-Soviet Union countries, they have a rule. If you don't have taste for something, find somebody who has that taste. If you don't have taste for chanting, find a person, sit next to them and chant, and you will see immediately taste comes. And many ashrams are held and run by one person. One person's taste and enthusiasm. Just like we have Rasika Ramani Prabhu, a lot of the boys, a lot of us, We feel it. It's so wonderful. His taste, his enthusiasm, it keeps us going. And then, similar to that, in Tamaguna, the problem with Tamaguna is complete stagnation, complete loss of energy, and it says person is really unable to get out of it on his own strength. Completely unable. He needs help. One just can't get out of it. We've all seen these people who are drunk, beaten up, dirty, they're laying in a ditch. They completely stagnated. There's no energy. They're just down. Somebody has to come pick them up. And for that, I have a small video which I think we all will benefit from it. It's really beautiful. It's a short third video. It's a kirtan of Nirajan Maharaj. And you will see there's a homeless person standing. So there's a homeless person, he's standing behind. And he's just observing for now, right? But with the help of the whole name, with the help of devotees, please see the reaction in a few minutes. So when we do Harinams outside, we often see people, sometimes they're standing, just observing first. He's not sure what to do. And for many people in the Soviet Union, they've never seen anything like it. But just wait. There you go. You can't help it, but it takes mercy. It takes. And the one is very enthusiastic in the back. So if we ever feel down, that's what we should do. Yeah. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. I want to open up for some questions or comments. I know somebody might have. You probably had a comment.
I have a question, Prabhu.
Yes,
Can
Prabhu.
you throw some light on meditation in the mode of goodness?
Well, it starts with Brahma Muhurta time. If, roughly speaking, strictly speaking, meditation is possible, and again, strictly speaking, only possible in the morning, in the Brahma Muhurta, which is an hour and 36 minutes before the sunrise. So if you want to give the best help to meditation in Sattva-guna, you should get up and be ready. There's few techniques of how getting up helps. So first thing, when we wake up, the prayer to our spiritual master. We want to put feet of our spiritual master on our head, and sometimes just brush your teeth quickly, you can start chanting. But if the best help you can do for yourself is do it in a Brahma Muhurta. I think there's Brahma and Savitri Muhurtas, forgot, but anyway, it's that period of time, because once the sun starts to rise, that's when the Sattva Guna in nature ends. Because in Brahma Muhurta, nature is full of, it's the most filled with sattva throughout the day. It's the best time. So if you observe outside, it's quiet, but as soon as the sun goes up, you start feeling the buzzing. Everybody starts to run somewhere, all the animals wake up, and that's when it becomes sporadic. Yes.
I have a follow-up question on that. So how is this impersonal yogis in the Himalayas, they're able to meditate for a longer duration, for a longer periods. And we are practicing a higher philosophy than them. We are not even able to chant. I mean, personally me, all 16 rounds in one shot, which is only 2 hours. So where is the gap? Because they are not following the highest philosophy. We are following it, but still they are able to meditate a longer period of time, and for days and days they are able to meditate on just void sometimes, and sometimes they meditate on something else. So my question was mostly based on meditation in the mode of goodness in this frame of reference for the yogis.
2 points here. First point is a lot of those yogis eventually, because it's impossible for the mind, for the soul, not to have a desire to enjoy. It's nature. By nature, we're meant for enjoyment. And if you try to suppress it, only so long you can do it. And they can do it for a lifetime, and maybe even more. And eventually you'll get to Brahma Jyoti. But it's like trying to lick the honey from outside of the jar. Eventually they all come down because they want to enjoy. So they can do it for a long time, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have fulfillment. Somebody can be very determined and sit for days and years. It's possible. The second point is, my house back in Belarus was right next to the person who was Mayavadi. Krishna just arranged it. The next house was a Mayavadi, and they were Hare Krishnas. And what they would do, they would sit in this heart postures, triangle pose. And the problem is that externally it looks very difficult, but their mind can be completely somewhere else. And this person ended up married twice, having kids in his 60s, because desire is there. Desire hasn't been satisfied, right? So why so many people don't really appreciate Krishna consciousness so much? Because it looks simple, looks too cheap. Just like dancing, just chanting, that's it. You don't want to sit in a heart posture, you want to keep your back straight. You don't sit in the Himalayas for long. What is this? That doesn't really look legitimate to us. But the practice of bhakti is actually more difficult because you have to work with your mind. You can sit in a yogic posture, but your mind can be somewhere else. But for us, it's the mind. It's the process of the mind. That's where the whole takes place. Yeah. Is that right? Anybody else? Go back on. An hour and 36 minutes. No, in the morning is before sunrise. There's one more, I think it's called Abhijit Muhurta, which is at noon, and then an hour and 36, or before and after that. So whatever you want to do is an Abhijit Muhurta, do it at noon or at midnight. Consider it very auspicious. But don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it refers to. But Brahma Muhurta is specifically an hour 36 before sunrise. That's why India took independence, actually. I forgot, who was that minister who was during British rule when they were given chance to take independence? Who was in charge back then? Meru. So he had a parliament meeting up until midnight because he came to astrology and said, well, we have this opportunity to gain independence. What's the best time and day to do that? And the astrologer said, the most horrible day today, just no way you can do it. But there's one thing you can do, Abhijit Muhurta, whatever you do, at precisely noon or midnight, you'll be successful. So Meru held a meeting of parliament till midnight, and then he announced independence from India. So we can use that. All right, anybody else? Yeah, we have a Prabhu. Last comment. Question.
First off, I appreciate your comment. Very succinctly put, that when the mind is expanded in many different directions, the consciousness becomes centered and closed.
Yeah.
And when the mind is focused, the consciousness expands. I thought that was
it's a very wonderful,
memorable, succinct way of phrasing it. So my question is, when we talk about Rajasic scriptures or Tamasic scriptures, what's the difference between following a Tamasic scripture and being in the mode of Tamas, right? Because what does the word scripture add when you use it? What do you mean by scripture, and what does that mean to follow a Tamasic or Rajasic scripture?
Every scripture will have two main, not qualities, but two main points to bring, and these are do's and don'ts. If you want to call the scripture, it will allow certain things and prohibit certain things. So scriptures in the mode of passion, they will allow love your neighbor, but bomb the other country, right? They will divide. This is mine, this is me, that's the other. They will be making distinction comparatively to scriptures in Sattva Guna, which will teach the one nature of everything. So they will justify certain things. They will justify being greedy. They will justify material development and pursuit of material happiness. But they will say, please don't hurt your neighbor. Please love your family, right? So there will be do's and don'ts. And then, of course, people in Rajaguna are more or less similar to that. They have their own personal motivations, but they would do them even if it hurts others. Is that right? All right, Shrimaggadam ki jai, Shriprabhupada ki jai. Mahaprasade Govinde, Namo Namani Vaishnave.
पुण्यवतं राजान् विश्वासनैव जायते